Hello everyone and welcome back to Timberborn. This is episode 27 on the road to 1000 beavers. In the last episode we continued working on our new reservoir that we have. Both of these mechanical fluid pumps are working. You can see we're pumping a little bit of water into here. And as we wrap up the drought, this whole basin under here, this should start filling up once again. It'll probably take a few days before the water actually gets all the way down into here. But I'm not too concerned about that because the only thing this really feeds is this one water pumper. And then it seems that we have two more that are working up here right now. And then we also have some water wheels that we constructed. We have the power shafts in for some of them. In today's episode, we should be connecting these ones together. And then hopefully I can figure out how I want to actually connect this whole system into one. Because we do have some of the power shafts that go under here. And then another problem that we're going to try and solve today is one that you can see in the distance here. There are 37 buildings that lack power, and that is because this is all part of one big power system. It extends from our Beaverland Hills production area all the way to Twigtop Ridge over here. And unfortunately we are completely out of power since it is a drought. And then the way they rely on power during a drought is these gravity batteries, but they are completely depleted. And I do know the source of the problem. This used to provide enough power for both of those districts, but when we blocked off two bad water sources upstream, that prevented that bad water from flowing through those water wheels and thus creating a power shortage. But now we have the infrastructure to start solving the problem. So we have all these zipline stations over here. The first thing we can do is carve out a channel right here. That way we can start adding in some water wheels, and then we can connect those water wheels into this power system. So we can start by adding in a few pieces of dynamite, and then we can make sure that the bad water goes in this direction. I'm not going to block off this part of the river until we have another path for the bad water to go. But then once that's all detonated, we can block this off, and we'll continue going in this direction, trying to capture as much of that bad water power as possible. We also have the opportunity to place some more water wheels over here. And since we know that we have two water wheels width and there is not flooding over here, we should be able to get away with the same upstream along this area. And then while we wait on the beavers to do some of this infrastructure, we can head back to Flattail Hill. And we have some funky interactions going on. It looks like this mechanical fluid pump is turning off and on kind of sporadically. I think it's because there's not quite enough water at the nozzle right there. And I don't exactly know how we can solve that issue. It might just be we need to make this a little bit wider. Hopefully we can add in a couple pieces of dynamite and that should solve the issue. And then if we add in a single staircase, we should be able to actually reach this mechanical fluid pump. But we're not in too big of a rush to get this completed because it is A, not connected to the power system, and then B, we don't have anywhere for the water to really fill up. And then I did notice in the last episode that we only have 4 books. We're basically completely out. If we head back to the district of Bavaria, we have one of these printing presses working on the punch cards. This other one is working on books, and we're actually doing pretty good on punch cards, about 500, but we're going through books really quickly, so maybe we should add in another printing press. We do have some space right over here on top of these maple trees, so we can squeeze one more in right over here. Although for continuity's sake, I think I'm going to actually move this paper mill over, and then we can have this set to books and set to bots as well. And then as soon as they build this paper mill back, then we'll be good to go. Looks like we're basically maxed out on paper, so I'm not too worried about that. But we will keep an eye on it since there's going to be an increased demand for paper. Okay, it seems they can't actually reach this even with these stairs here. I kind of assumed they'd be able to, but I guess not. I think we have the path going all the way, so I don't think that is the issue, because we can place something right here and they can't construct it. So instead we can set a couple spiral staircases and get up here. Let them work on that, and then also start filling in some more of the dirt blocks. And then we do have the water that has returned. It's starting to flow through the system once again, which means I should connect in these power systems, get a few of the power shafts set up. And it looks like the beavers have set up the dynamite so we can detonate it. And now the bad water has another direction that it can flow. And now we can start blocking off this path for the bad water. And then we can also start setting up some water wheels in the meantime. And I'm going to see if we can stick with just having one wide for the water wheels, since it is a fairly narrow channel that was existing here before. So I'm hoping that should be sufficient for this new system. Worst case scenario, we can widen it just a little bit and then add in a second set of water wheels. And then we also have a few over here which we can connect in. We're going to set up a couple little outposts right here, since we do have a lot of beavers that are hungry when they're out in this area. And then we do have a bot that is out of fuel that was working his way all the way in this section. And it looks like our max power output right now in this whole system is 7,500. It used to be 10,000, so we actually went down about 25% just because we blocked off those two bad water sources. So I think it's imperative that we get these additional water wheels set up and connected in. And then we can continue to add in some water wheels. We're going to actually switch to the other side. That way it's easier to connect into these power shafts. And then once they've had a chance to construct all of this, we can connect these power shafts in together. And I'll need to figure out how I want to actually connect this whole system into this one. I think what we're going to do is have an underground tunnel go over here, and then we can go straight up, and then we can connect into these. That way we can hide some of the power shaft spaghetti, and then we can continue in this direction as well, and basically just keep adding in water wheels. And then it's worth adding in a pile since we're going to be using a lot of dirt in the future here. And then we can also add in another zipline station just to speed things up a little bit. And it looks like we have these gravity batteries that are almost completely out of power. It seems like these 5 windmills are not quite enough to power both of these mechanical fluid pumps. So if we tie a third one in, it's going to be even worse off. But we do have this whole system connected in, except for a couple pieces right here. And what I'm thinking over here is we'll basically make a vertical wall and then have it slightly overhang to the right above some of these water wheels. And we can connect that in with this area. And then we can actually have some caves in this rock area. And it should give it a little bit of a unique look. As you can see, we have this cave under here. And of course the beavers managed to trap themselves. But I think we can actually save him by adding in just a few of these dirt blocks here. Now something that is interesting when it comes to using the overhangs, specifically in the dirt block version, sometimes you can construct stuff that is technically able to be built, but in the way that the dirt blocks are facing, it's not able to be constructed. For example, we have one overhanging dirt block right here, and then it goes 4 more before it reaches this. And then we have this column that's supported by some of this area. But I don't actually think they're going to be able to construct all this, since this dirt block is waiting for the dirt underneath and to the right to be constructed first. So I suspect we're going to get to a stopping point where we've done some of the overhangs, but we can't quite finish this, specifically this wall and then some of the ones on the edge. But if that is the case, then I think what I'll do is just add in a few more columns. That way the beavers should be able to finish everything. But we'll use this as kind of a test to see if they can actually finish it. And we have also completely stalled. The gravity batteries are completely out. The windmills are not working. So I'm going to connect in the power shafts right over here. I think I want to do something that is a little bit more hidden. And as long as they can reach this one, which it looks like they can because they can go from this side, we can go all the way up. And then once they've built these, I think I might hide them a little bit. Either put some dirt blocks on top of it or maybe some levees on the side. And then we can place some dynamite over here. We'll have the power shafts go along and then we'll connect in vertically. And then I can cover it up with dirt blocks once they've placed all the power shafts down. And oh my gosh, they made that basically immediately. So we can detonate all of this and then add those power shafts in. And then if we take a big picture look at our world, we have 71 unemployed beavers. And surprisingly, we actually have some beavers who are sitting around in Flattail Hill, even though we have all this stuff going on. I'm going to add in a temporary dirt pile, and then we'll make sure it's prioritized by haulers and set to obtain. High prioritize it, and then hopefully that can help some of the haulers move around, not be sitting on their butts. And there are no unemployed beavers in this district. And overall we have just over 650 beavers. So it looks like we're in a pretty good spot. We had 600 a few episodes ago. And then we surprisingly have no unemployed beavers in the district of Bavaria. In the Beaverland Hills we do have 16 beavers who are unemployed and a bot. Looks like we are basically maxed out on all the resources that we are collecting. And fortunately it looks like our gravity batteries are all charged up. And then we have a lot of these water wheels that are up and running. Once we get this path placed down, we should be able to reach a lot more of this dirt. Not quite all of it. And then we do need to still connect in these power shafts. And unfortunately I forgot to place this path down right here. We can continue in this direction, and then let's see how the dynamite's doing. Looks like we are at the perfect elevation, so we can start putting some power shafts to go vertically right here. And then we'll basically just be waiting for the beavers to finish this side. Then we can add in a couple more power shafts right here and here. And overall we have 1,000 power in this little bunch, and then 800 in here. And these ones are not quite finished, but I'm guessing these ones are going to be another 1,200 power or so. We also have access to another mine right here, which was not really the intention of getting over here, but that is a bit of a bonus. Overall we have 2.8 thousand scrap metal, so we're not running short on that at all. In fact, this other mine in Beaverland Hills is actually maxed out, and I suspect that we also are maxed out on metal blocks. As you can see, a lot of these bots are actually just sitting around. Let's see if there's anything we can use some of those resources for in this district. We're at 45 well-being, and we are missing out on some social life activities, and then it's kind of hit and miss for some of the aesthetics. Most of them have at least about half done, and then we have no books here, plus we're missing a carousel and mud pit. Thankfully we have some more space over here, so we can add in a few mud pits, and I do want to be mindful of space. Maybe we can double up on decorations with some of these activities. And then if we place a few of these mud pits right at the back, we can also squeeze in a couple detailers, and then we have some space for decorations. And then we can add in basically some roofs over here. And then maybe we'll get some shrubs in. This is one way you can try and bump the well-being up for the beavers, since the beavers will be walking underneath them. The downside is that they don't spend a whole lot of time directly underneath it, and then it does cost a bit of resources, since you need to add in the platforms on top of whatever decorations you're constructing. But we are rolling in resources, so I'm not too worried about it for us. And then we also want to get a carousel placed down, but that does require power. I don't think we actually have any power up here. It all stems down into this section, so maybe we need to add in some more power shafts over here. Unless we have a way to connect power in from this district. It does seem it's kind of a ways away, so that might not be what we do at the moment. We do have some fun activities near the beavers' housing, although I think I want to connect these in a little bit more. We do have a zipline pylon right here, but it might make sense to add in maybe a couple of zipline stations. And while most of the beavers are going to be asleep, we can remove this one, and then we can connect this zipline station up here. And as long as we have all the paths that we need, then that should be feasible for them to make. I also added in some stairs. That way they can get between some of these well-being items and then the houses a little bit easier. And then we can add in 2 carousels right here. I think we just need to make sure they actually have access to get up into this. Although I think we can do better than this. If we add in a bunch of dirt blocks, then we can fit a few more of those carousels in. We can do at least 3. Let's just actually do a 4th one over here. I think I just need to add in a few more dirt blocks and then it'll look a little bit better. And then if we add in 1 large overhang, we should be able to get all the way across here. And then popping back over to our power source, looks like they have all of this set up. We have a bunch of the storage that they're still prioritizing, but I don't think we need to worry about that anymore. In fact, it might make sense to remove them. That way we're not having beavers come all the way out here to fill some of these up. Although I just realized that in order to put the power shafts in here, we have 2 options. We can either go all the way through here, get all the tunnels blasted out, and then start adding the power shafts in one by one. That way the beavers won't trap themselves, or they don't have one of the power shafts that they miss. Our second option is to go up 1 level and then basically put in a bunch of dynamite again, something similar to what we did over here, because as you can see we have the power shafts that go all along here, and then one above it we have paths that go all along on top of these platforms, and that is what made it feasible for us to connect this whole underground system together. And taking a look back in Flattail Hill, as I suspected, we are stalled out. We're waiting on construction below to be finished, but they can't reach it because it's too far from the district center. So if we add in a few columns over here, I think that should do the trick. And it seems we're not getting a whole lot of power through here. The water is filling this up. Hopefully we don't have any water going over here, although it looks like we do. Let's bump this up to 1.9, and then we can lower this maybe 0.4. So we'll have a little bit more water coming through here. We could raise one of these up, maybe to 0.8. I know we've gone back and forth quite a bit, but it seems like there's not really a good answer to get some more consistent water flowing through here. At the moment, these water wheels plus some of these windmills, they're adding almost 4,000 power to the system, which that is good because it's helping to charge up these gravity batteries. And then these mechanical fluid pumps are running at full steam right now. Well, we might need to add even more mechanical fluid pumps if we want to actually fill this up, because we have a drought approaching in just under 2 days. And with the fact that we are collecting water from here, it might not be realistic to fill this whole thing up just using a couple mechanical fluid pumps. And then we do have the carousels constructed. We're waiting on just a few more power shafts. And then it looks like we're actually missing wheat in this district, but I think we can fix that pretty easily. We have a bunch of storage, although grilled spatter dock, we have none of that here. We actually are just running low overall. We have 7 in total. I guess that was just for that district, but still only 160-ish. So the amount that we have right here might not be quite enough. This is the one area that we are growing grilled spatter dock, but let's see if there's somewhere else where we can add in another aquatic farm. We do have some green space over here. We don't have any bad water that flows in this direction anymore. So if we add in maybe some zipline stations over here, and then if we blast out part of this and then get a fluid dump or 2 set up, then that'll be a good area to get some more grilled spatter dock. And the drought has started. It is 8 days long, and that is also where we're going to wrap up today's episode. We made some good progress on this big mountain thing that I'm making. And then we also have this power system connected in, so this is one big system now. We'll see if in the next episode if we can finish getting the platform set up around here, and then maybe continue to get some of the levees placed on the outside. And then in terms of our entire power system in this section, we have this whole section connected in. And then if we go underground and take a look at the power shafts, we just need to place them down along here. We have paths going all the way through this section. And then as long as I high prioritize these 2 power shafts and get those constructed first, then we can place the rest of them underneath here, and then they will be able to construct them from above. And then we should have this whole section connected in and not have to worry about any beavers getting trapped. So if you enjoyed today's episode, go ahead and hit that like button. It really does mean a lot to me, and it helps the channel out tremendously. And with that, we will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.